Sickness, coughs, colds, the flu, sweet goodbyes, warm welcomes, and I'm now separated from my wife and kids. It's been a while, and we're going to talk about all this and more on this episode of the Small Town Pastor Podcast. Hello and welcome to the Small Town Pastor Podcast. This is Ben Beckner. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining me on this journey. Well, hello, yes, and welcome to the Small Town Pastor Podcast. This is Ben Beckner. So glad that you have joined me this morning and continuing on this journey with me as beginning this new process, a new chapter in my life. And it's been a while. It's been several weeks since I've been able to get together with you to share some things and crazy things happening in my life. And so I appreciate you joining me and listening and being along for this journey. So some of these delays have been a little bit intentional. I knew that the transition would be a bit crazy, and so I anticipated a little bit of time there. But in between my last episode in this week, I've also gotten had a cold, a lot of cough, a lot of gross stuff that comes along with that, and I'm not going to kind of gross you out with all those details, but so we dealt with that. And then in the process of leaving Monte Vista and moving to Ray, there was a lot of transition that happened as well. A lot of things that I had to process and think through, and some of it was for the very first time. Some of it I was anticipating and kind of thought how it would work or not. Some of it wasn't, and so this morning I thought I'd share some of these things with you. So in the process of getting ready to move to Ray, I had to do a lot of packing and separating some things there in Monte Vista. So one of those steps was, packing up my office, going through things, boxing stuff up, books, different things like that. And it was a little emotional, and I was a little surprised by some of it. Going through different materials, throwing stuff out that was really dated, that wasn't going to be of any use to whoever's following me. So throwing those kind of things out. But as I was going through different files and folders and things like that, I came across a stack of envelopes that I had students in youth group at the time write letters to themselves. We were on a mission trip, and I don't remember the entire context of what we were trying to do, but just I had these stacks of envelopes and letters that kids wrote themselves. So I've got those that I've brought up with me, and going to start tracking some of those kids down and mail those to them. Be kind of a fun thing, but it brought back some sweet memories. I ran across some old pictures, and it was just awesome to really think back and remember and reminisce all the things that took place and happened over those last 8 years while I was serving there in Monte Vista. So cleaning out the office, going into the teen room and pulling some of my stuff out that was in there. And both times looking at both rooms after that was kind of done. And just kind of taking in that moment, that chapter, that part of my ministry was changing, and it was good. It wasn't regret or anything like that, but it was just good. I was able to think back on all the things that had happened over the last several years, and it was so good. My last Sunday at the church, man, there were some sweet goodbyes. So we had, the last service that I was there, there was a slideshow and, of just a bunch of pictures of teen trips and times at church and interacting with different people. Several people shared a few things, in front of the congregation. And that was it just meant so much to me. You never know I guess, the kind of impact that you're going to have. And I'm not trying to, um, puff myself up in any way, but it was just so good to hear. Because sometimes you just don't, you work and you do things and it's good. But it's also good to hear the impacts that you're making too. And so I just really tried to take all of that in over that weekend. And so had an awesome potluck after that. So many people left us notes and cards, and we read every one. And many times our eyes would fill up with tears, and it was just so good. So as that as that kind of ended, our thoughts began moving to Ray. And in the middle of that was a Wednesday night teen service. And I didn't have to do anything. Our students put this together. They put together a different slideshow, different video. And it's one that I'll cherish and watch time and again, because it was interviews, it was comments and stories and testimonies of just the last several years in our time together. And so that was meant so much to me, to see that and watch that, and then being able to pray together. I just wanted to really encourage them in the days, weeks, and months going forward. A couple of things that I shared on Sunday morning with our church. I read a passage out of Philippians chapter 1, beginning in verse 3. It says, "I thank my God every time I remember you, in all my prayers for all of you. I always pray with joy because of your partnership in the gospel from the first day until now, being confident of this, that he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus." And my heart in sharing that was just to encourage people to continue to invest and partner in the gospel. Not necessarily a goodbye and things like that, but just trying to encourage the congregation to pay attention, to be aware of opportunities to invest in people. I told them that I was a product of their investment. I was able to serve in the same church that I had gotten saved and received my call to ministry, and that was a special privilege. And so I reminded them that I was a product of their investment, of their time, of their prayer, and I encourage them to be watching for others that are coming up too, that are worthy of investment, that are worthy of being prayed for. And so that was a fun thing to do, to just encourage that congregation in looking for the next person to invest in. And it may be a child, it may be a teen, it may be an adult, and to be watching for it and to make those investments. They're a very generous church, and that is one of the most profound ways to make investments, is into the lives of people. So that was our sweet goodbyes that week. Little bit of time between that Sunday and my first Sunday in Ray. So in between that time, there was packing, there was sorting through some stuff, and just so you know too, we are not fully moved and have not fully transitioned actually to Ray even at this point. So it was just kind of figuring out some things that we needed while I live in Ray part of the week, and then look to come home back to Monte Vista at a different part of the week. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that, as how that's kind of coming together. So we were able to do that, pack some stuff up. We moved what we could up to Ray. And on Friday, we closed on a house. So we are now homeowners. The first time we've owned a home since we sold one when we left Idaho back in 2006, I think it was. So 14 years ago. So this is kind of an exciting thing for us too, is we have a place to call home, and not that the parsonage and place where we were living was bad by any means. It was an immense blessing, and ways that we were able to do some things that we wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. So I'm super, super thankful that we had that. But it's just owning your own home is now, it's kind of a different thing. And we are setting down roots. And we felt really strongly about that as we were considering this move. We wanted to share that, to show that we were here to stay. We're not looking to be here and move in a short amount of time. We're here because we know that God has called us here. So we took a step of faith and bought a house, and that was a miracle in and of itself, how that was able to come to be. There was some crazy stuff that happened in the middle of that, but God worked it out in such a way that we're still amazed. So we, like I said, we closed on this house and moved some stuff in, moved some stuff into the church office. And so just began to think about Ray here as our new home. So our first Sunday was, such a warm welcome and such an amazing time with this new congregation. We do kind of a different type of service for, they call it an installation service. So my first Sunday was this installation of me as the new pastor. And that was so amazing to be a part of. It was challenging. It was a call to the congregation and to me. It was not a job, a welcoming to a new job so much as it is a welcoming to a call between myself, this church, and what God has for us. So it was, like I said, it was such an amazing service. I had some special guests that came, and I knew I invited my dad, my stepmom, and my grandma to come, and it was so awesome to have them here to support me and my family and what's happening in our lives. We got to have dinner together a couple of times and spent some time together, just talking about all kinds of different things, and it was just so good. Another friend of mine from Monte Vista, he was going to be up in Greeley anyway, and so that Sunday morning he came over and participated in watching the service, and his support there meant a lot to me as well. So thank you, David, for making the trip and taking the time to celebrate with me and my family and in this new ministry. And then a surprise guest were able to make it as well. Art and Carolyn Sullivan, who I had grown up in the Monte Vista Church with them. They have always been such an encouragement to me, such a just really, really good friends. And it was awesome to grow up around them. Like I said, their encouragement meant so much to me as a teen and as a young pastor, and in my roles that I was serving there. Their son, Noel, was the pastor of Ray Church of the Nazarene for a long time, and he got cancer and passed away while serving this church. So this church holds a special place in their heart, obviously. So for them to come and be a part meant a lot to me on a couple of different levels. Obviously, with what it means to them, but also what their relationship meant to me. So thank you, Art and Carolyn, for making the trip, for being here for the service, and for your sweet support that you have been to me over the years. Yeah, just an amazing time. The potluck was awesome. So was thankful to just be able to get together, meet new people, and eat. That is such a good thing to do. And man, it was just such a great day. The people here have welcomed us so warmly, and we do feel welcome. We do feel a part of your congregation now. We do feel a part of what's happening here, and thank you for welcoming us so well. On that Sunday, as part of my first sermon, I shared from Ezra. And over the last several weeks, we've been talking about the same passage, and in these new beginnings that I believe God has for us together as Ray Church, and for me as well. And so I read from Ezra chapter 3, verses 1 through 3, and it said, "When the 7th month came, and the Israelites had settled in their towns, the people assembled as one man in Jerusalem. Then Jeshua, son of Josedek, and his fellow priest, and Zerubbabel, son of Shealtiel, and his associates began to build the altar of the God of Israel, to sacrifice burnt offerings on it, in accordance with what was written in the law of Moses, the man of God. Despite their fear of the peoples around them, they built the altar on its foundation, and sacrificed burnt offerings on it to the Lord, both the morning and evening sacrifices." And I feel like God had brought me to that passage because it talks a lot about new beginnings. And in these first 3 verses, it really set the tone for these new beginnings and what this was going to mean for the Israelites as they rebuilt and things were new. And they really set some things in motion that I believe were ingredients for success. And so that's what I shared with them on my first Sunday, and what we have been talking about the last couple of weeks. Out of that, we've been talking about unity and how God desires this unity among his people, what that unity looks like, should look like, things to watch out for. Last week, we talked about commitment to God, commitment to his word, and what that looks like in our lives, how we need to submit our lives fully to God. That building of this altar signified so many things, but it was a place where they found their identity in God as a people, where they laid aside sin, things that held them back, and what this altar meant for them going forward. And this coming week, we're going to be talking about the third part of that verse, and it just really stands out to me. They, as it says here, despite their fear of the peoples around them, they built the altar on its foundation. And it was just, that just stands out to me, that there's nothing that was going to hold them back from doing what God was calling them to do. And so despite our fears. And so we're going to talk about that this next week. So it's kind of been a lot that's happened in the last few weeks. And I've by no means gone in a whole lot of detail, but just wanted to give you an update on these things that are happening. You can be praying for me over these next few months, and praying for my family. As I mentioned in the beginning here, we are now separated. And that's kind of a funny way to just kind of let you know that these next few months are going to be pretty difficult for my family and I. Trying to split my time between Ray and back in Monte Vista to still be together as a family. And we're trying to, do some things when we are apart. FaceTime is a wonderful thing. Technology is great in that, but it doesn't replace the face-to-face, the real connection. And so over these next few months, be doing a lot of traveling from Ray to Monte Vista and back. We're trying to figure out this new normal for us. This time, too, has been difficult to find a rhythm, and trying to set my time to where I have adequate time to study and prepare for message on Sunday, making time to meet and connect with new people and with the community that I'm now a part of. And so I would appreciate your prayers. And I thank you for those that have been and send notes and texts and messages that you're doing that. And I appreciate that so much. That means so much to me. I love you, and I thank you so much for loving me and my family. This has been pretty amazing over these last few weeks to see God moving in some pretty incredible ways. I'm humbled to be a part of what he's doing. And I thank you for joining me on this journey, for listening, for praying, and for encouraging me. So thank you so much. Be looking forward to sharing some new things here in the next few weeks. Got some ideas for what I'd like to talk about and just different experiences that are happening. So thank you. I enjoy serving God with you, and we'll be praying for you. God bless.